Welcome, friends and fellow horse fiends. You've landed on Come Ride With Me, a podcast dedicated to helping you find harmony, joy, and success in your riding. I'm your host, Anna Fox of Equus Enlightened. This pod isn't about training your horse, but about training you to be the best partner for your horse. Listen to find out how I use my intention to direct my ride. You'll hear how I decide what to focus on, what to say yes to, and when to redirect my horse. You'll see how not getting frustrated or overwhelmed is the easiest path to sanity and harmony. So, what are you waiting for? Come ride with me. Hey there, horse fiends. Welcome to another episode of Come Ride With Me. I'm your host, Anna Fox of Equus Enlightened, and this season we are talking about letting go of perfectionism. And today we're digging into a big one, the illusion of control. Whether you're clenching your jaw or your reins or both, this episode is for you. Force doesn't always look like yanking or yelling or hitting. Sometimes it's just holding tension, holding expectations, holding your breath. So let's unravel why that kind of control backfires and what you can do instead. So most riders think only of force as an overt or harsh punishment, right? Harsh hands, strong bits, aggressive corrections, whips, spurs, the big ugly monsters in the room, right? But the word force has many definitions. So let's think of force in the physics term, where it's defined as an influence tending to change the motion of a body or produce motion or stress in a stationary body. So an example would be using the rein to leverage the forward movement of your horse from the hind end, or using the rein as leverage to balance your own seat. Both of these things introduce a force into your horse's motion and your own. And here's a fun fact when you think about soundness in horses and riders. The magnitude of such an influence or force is often calculated by multiplying the mass of the body by its acceleration. Basically, the faster you go, or the more energy that you want to create, the greater the force being exerted. So if you are using your rein to leverage your horse into collection, if you're using the reins to pull their head down or to keep them collected and from going too fast because you're pushing them so far forward from the hind end, faster they go, the more force is exerted. And just think about that. Like, how does that feel on your sore back or your horses? There's no wonder why lots of riders are just as sore as the horses they're riding. We do it to ourselves. Remember, force isn't always big and ugly. Force can be subtle, even refined, like holding the horse in frame and resisting their natural movement, or holding your own body rigid in the saddle. Maybe you're trying to force yourself to sit the trot. This kind of quiet force feels responsible, like you're riding correctly, like you're holding it all together. But it disconnects you from the feel. And I want to segue here for a minute and talk about the word holding. Talk about a sneaky word. It's sometimes the bane of my own existence because it's so tricky not to tell riders to hold. Either when you want them to exert a moment of oppositional force, or if they found a great place in the movement. It's so easy to say, hold it. I find myself doing it. It drives me crazy. So I'm aware of the nuance behind this term now. So I try to catch myself. But we really have to come up with a better term. We can't hold it together anyway. We simply don't have the strength to create the force that one little human would need to hold a horse together as it's in motion. Physics doesn't add up there. We can enjoy a great moment, remember it, and then try to get back to it faster once we've lost it. But if we hold it, we are going to be breaking the natural rhythm. And that's what force is. So holding builds tension. Holding is force. Force is anything that overrides the natural rhythm, yours or your horse's. So suck up the imperfection, buttercups. We're going to lose it. Just get really good at getting it back. Control not only creates physical forces and physical problems, but also takes a big toll on our mental state and on our emotions. We've talked a little bit about the illusion of control in the podcast before, but we haven't really delved into the emotional cost of feeling in control. Every perfectionist wants to feel in control. But life happens. Control is an illusion, and it can come at a really high cost. For the riders, it often creates anxiety and internal pressure to get it right. It reinforces the idea of holding it all together, which is impossible in your life or when you're riding your horse. The illusion of control makes riders hyper aware of how they think they look, fear of other people's opinions, instead of trusting their own feel. Basically, it creates a mental force that disconnects riders from the flow state. And for our horses, this tension is confusing, right? So this causes bracing, even shutdown, or explosive behaviors because the horses start to anticipate pressure rather than relax into the connection and the feel that we want. Horses often feel punished for offering movements or trying to express themselves, which in classical dressage, you always want the horse to have an expression of themselves. That is the point of dressage. Control often feels safe, but it's not where growth or softness happen. So where does the growth and the softness happen? What is riding with feel? Well, let's talk about what force is versus feel first. Force is going to be anything that is static or fixed, and you are not, and your horse is not. So anytime you're trying to apply a fixed force, like your rein, or holding yourself down into the saddle on that sitting trot, you're not following, you're not feeling, you're just trying to force something. Feel is a dynamic, responsive thing. So if we're feeling the horse make contact with the rein, if we're feeling the horse move in its diagonal gait pattern in the trot, if we're feeling where a horse might be tense or when we might be tense, that's when you start to get into the softness. And sometimes it's a little bit hard for riders to understand that because they feel messy, which is why we did our messy experiments last week. And that kicks on the faux pas, and then we don't think we look right, and then we start holding again, and then we're forcing again, and then it's a vicious cycle, right? So if you want to ride with feel instead of force, you want to remain dynamic, you want to remain responsive to your horse and yourself, and also be curious. Be curious about why things happen, why your body does this or your horse's body does that, okay? Learn to notice your horse's rhythm and adjust with it. This doesn't mean accepting a poor rhythm, but instead being curious as to why you might have a poor rhythm and being responsive to the need to change it. It means your brain remains in this dynamic thought process and you feel your way to improvement through curiosity and experimentation. Even play, right? Which we know horses love. We've talked about that before. Noticing when your horse offers movements instead of insisting on it. Set your horse up to do something and then allow it to happen. Letting go of needing to hold a posture, gait, or shape. And if you lose something that feels good, you simply find it again. As you and your horse become better at finding, you'll get quicker at mastering those happy places. And as your horse gains strength and trust, they'll be able to maintain the rhythm in those happy places longer. So maybe maintain is a better word than hold, right? Maybe I should say try to maintain that, right? But we're not maintaining it with force. We're maintaining it in a dynamic way. Because to me, maintain implies a sense of something more dynamic than hold. I don't know. What do you think? Feel is what makes horses curious and willing. Force is what makes them check out of the partnership. So learn to trust yourself. What you feel is more important than how it looks. I know this is a very hard concept for people to grasp because we don't think we know how it's supposed to feel. So we make up this idea in our head that's probably come from things that our trainer or different trainers have told us and what we've seen other riders doing that we liked. And we try to make ourselves have this feeling that we don't really have. And when you have the feeling of being in a dynamic, responsive riding partnership with your horse, and you can make things happen on the fly, you can make things happen with ease, you will know what that feeling is. It's not anything anybody can explain to you. I'm sorry. But you just have to trust yourself that you are going to know the feeling. And the horse is going to tell you when it's good, because they're going to feel good too. Okay, so what you feel is more important than how it looks, regardless of your FOPO. Okay? Every time you trade control for curiosity, your horse gets a chance to trust you more. And when they trust you and they can offer things, when they can respond to your requests and you respond to how they answer, it builds trust. Softness is a two-way street. You have to offer it before you can expect it. It's just like meeting someone on the street. If you run up to them and start shouting at them, they're probably not going to greet you kindly. Think about your horse in the same way. Our experiment for this week is to ride the rhythm. So this sounds a little bit like the passenger or the passive riding experiment. But what's different is that we're actually actively going to try to match what our horse is doing. So you're going to start at the walk on a loose rein or soft contact. And instead of asking for a frame or a shape or a speed, notice your horse's natural rhythm. Match your breathing and match your seat to it. If you have to think of a little tune in your head, whatever, just match it. When they shift, speed up, slow down, hesitate. Don't correct it. Get curious. What happened? Why? And don't expect an immediate answer. Don't expect to know. Just get curious and then start to notice tensions in your own body. and try just softening one thing at a time. If your horse has stopped, you can do this while they're stopped. Do you notice, do they drop their head? Do they take a breath? If you do, what happens when you start playing with your own body parts? Get them walking again. Try it at the walk. Match their stride, match the breathing. Soften one part of your body. See what happens. Notice what your horse does. Are they relaxing a body part? Are they taking a breath? Are they offering to stretch? Do they tighten something up? Just get used to being curious and noticing without having any outcome attached. It's a perfectionist's worst nightmare. Zero outcome. We're just noticing. We're just fact-finding. That's it. I like to call them fact-finding missions. This also makes a great exercise to practice while you're hand grazing your horse or walking them to and from the field, whatever. Can you match the steps? Can you match their breathing? You can also do this as a visualization exercise before you're even in the saddle or on days when you can't ride. And if you can really get into the visualization of it, you will find that it will help you to be able to follow the movement of your horse, and it will also help you start to get curious about why things happen and why we do things. And we all like to hold tension in some places in our body, as do our horses, right? And a lot of times they match up with the places that we hold tension. But sometimes they're really sneaky little parts of our body. And you really have to tune in to be able to figure out what they are. Because just being told to step down in the right stirrup doesn't usually fix that little muscle that you might be holding on the inside of your right hip. For some weird reason, nobody knows. I do it all the time. When I'm just standing around, I have no idea why I do that. But when I notice it, I try to relax it. And I try to tell myself, you don't need to do that. Okay, so it's little bitty things like that make a huge difference in your riding and also your feel on your horse. Remember that letting go of control doesn't mean being sloppy. Doesn't mean not making progress. It doesn't mean getting better. It means that things may be messy in a moment. But we're going to learn from that messiness, and then it's going to turn into something beautiful. Letting go of control means being present, being aware, riding with clarity and direction without bracing or forcing. And that's how you learn to feel, and that's how the feel wins every time. So this week you're going to try the rhythm experiment and tag me if you share it, or you can DM it to me, whatever. But I would love to see these experiments. And if you want more tools like this, hit follow. Take the Are You a Perfectionist quiz on my website, equisenlightened.com. Put the links in the show notes. And until next time, happy riding. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Come Ride With Me. My goal is to demonstrate to riders that we don't have to do something every second of a ride. We don't have to do things a certain way or at a certain time. Just staying present with your horse and gathering non-judgmental information about how they are going is way more beneficial than overthinking and overworking. If you'd like to learn more about what I do at Equus Enlightened, you can find me at equisenlightened.net or on patreon.com/Equus Enlightened. You can also find me on social media as Equus Enlightened. I will put all the links in the show notes. And until next time, happy riding. Oh, before you go, please remember to rate, review, and share this pod so others can find it. I would love constructive criticism, but But like my mom used to say, if you don't have anything really nice to say, there's no need to say it. Just ride on, my friends. Have a great week.